Welcome to another episode of the Saturday Sports Shift, but we got a special one for you today. We are in Daytona for, of course, Daytona Speed Weeks, and of course, it being Saturday, this is race day for the season number 5 Daytona 500. So, unfortunately, my normal co-host of the podcast, Brody Webster, is a little bit busy at the Fat and Friends United team meetings. For some reason, they got a lot of stuff going on there. So, we're
They
actually
just
going to be
won both races yesterday, so doesn't surprise me. The boss is busy. I mean, he's got a lot of sponsor deals to sign.
And there is your co-host for today, filling in for Brody Webster, just completely interrupting me. That's Cole Wilson.
Yep.
All right, so Cole Wilson, maybe tell the ladies and gentlemen who you are.
Hi, I'm Cole Wilson. I'm number 22 in full time in the NASCAR iRacing FedEx Grand National Series. I'm defending champion and then defended Daytona 500 winner. So, we're looking to go back to back tonight.
Yeah, so of course Cole Wilson was originally supposed to be our special guest for tonight. Unfortunately, Brody Webster can't make it because these Fat and Friends team meetings are just insane today, trying to get ready for this Daytona 500. Obviously, like Cole Wilson said, they won the truck race with TJ Moon and they won the Grand National race with Axel Smith yesterday. I think both are going to be in the Daytona 500. I know Axel Smith is. He's full time, of course. Just got approved for the Cup Series after all of that. So, of course, it is Daytona Day in the NASCAR iRacing FedEx League. This podcast episode won't be as long as usual, usually a half hour, but we got a lot of things to do for the Daytona 500. So, of course, it is race day. Real quick, though, let's touch on some of the things that happened during Speed Week. So, of course, it's been, what now, 5? This is the 6th day of Daytona Speed Week. So it all started off with Cup Series first practice. Then, of course, we went to the IndyCar race, which was on Tuesday.
So,
All
should
right.
I have won that race? Yes, I should have. But I threw it away. And I had a great battle with Richard Cherry there on the last lap, but Richard ultimately came out on top. So it was a good battle there. It was a fun race for sure.
Yeah, so of course that was the second IndyCar race. They have their 3-race mini season this year. Of course, they go to Indianapolis for the mini Indianapolis 500 up next. So, and of course Wednesday, what a night that was! The Daytona Duels. I mean, of course Cole Wilson was in that as well. He'll be trying to back up his Daytona 500 win from last season. So of course the duels were insane. We had 39 combined cars, of course, going in those two duels. 19 cars in one of them, 20 cars in the other one. So it was very weird. The first duel was chaotic. I mean, just pure chaos. We had that crash before even the green flag came out on the front straightaway, coming to green. They all piled up, and then of course we had wrecks throughout the entire race. And then the duel number 2, not a single caution, I don't think, and they went completely green and clean to the end of the race. Then when we had a crash coming to the checkered flag, so I mean, two very different duels that usually happens. I feel like, especially in real life. So I mean, Cole, which duel were you in, by the way?
I was in the first one.
Oh yeah, of course. So let's give us a little bit of an insight. Like, what was that like? Of course, in that first duel, all that chaos.
Yeah, that first one, like you said, I had a really bad qualifying. So I started like 17th out of 19 cars. Um, and when they wrecked at the start, uh, that was a little scary, right in front of me, but I don't think anyone sustained too bad of damage, just a little stack up wreck, a lot of cars spun out. And then later on in the race, like you said, very aggressive driving. It was very hard to get the top working, so you would need a lot of cars to get up there, with the new side draft model that this Gen 4 car has. Um, but you could do it. It was very hard, and especially now with going into the big thing tonight with both duels combined, I think you'll definitely see the outside work better with obviously double the amount of carts. And yeah, later on there was another wreck. I was able to avoid that one, and I came home fourth place. So it was a solid duel. Learned how to drive the car a little better, and in the draft, and hopefully we can have another good race tonight.
Yeah, so of course, Ashton Miller actually ended up winning duel number 1 in a chaotic fashion, side by side, nearly a photo finish with Matthew White, timed it perfectly at the line. And then, of course, coming home to win duel number 2 was Jacob Malone. Maybe got into the 90 of Eli Tomlin a little bit too much, spun him around down the front straightaway, but it was just hard racing at the end, and Jacob Malone ended up winning his duel number 2. Of course, both those drivers in the Daytona 500 tonight, obviously. They both got bonus points. It doesn't matter for Jacob because he's not full time. He's full time in Grand National. We'll talk about what happened there last night in a minute, and then of course it does matter for Ashton because he, of course, is full time in the Cup Series. Of course, that was Wednesday. Then we moved on to Thursday. It was, I believe, Grand National Series final practice. Then the ARCA iCar combination race. They have that every single season. That was crazy. I mean, we had like Eli Tomlin, of course, his screen went black. He caused a massive crash. We had crashes all over the place, and the finish was insane. Cameron Chandler was leading down the back straightaway for the final time, and then he got passed, got taken 3 wide, and CJ Ehrman actually ended up winning that race. And there was a massive crash at the end. So it was definitely a chaotic one in on Thursday, and then of course yesterday it was the busiest day of Speed Weeks. Of course, what a night that was! We all started off with final practice for tonight's Daytona 500. I guess that was relatively nothing to talk about there. It's just practice. Then of course we had the truck race after that. So the truck race was very, very interesting. I don't really know how to explain it. I mean, it was decent. We had a pretty decent finish at the end. So TJ Moon actually ended up winning the truck race. That was, of course, the first Fat and Friends United win of the day. Yes, there was actually two. We'll talk about that later coming up for the Grand National coverage. So, of course, TJ Moon won that race. Cole Wilson, man, he qualified terrible. I mean, Cole Wilson, what was with your qualifying yesterday?
Yeah, I don't know. I've struggled with qualifying all week. Struggled in the duels first. I didn't compete in ARCA. I was not able to find a team to provide me a race car. Um, and then uh, truck race, I qualified second last. And then Xfinity was all right. I qualified 16th out of like 48 people trying to qualify for the race, so that's not too bad. I think my qualifying is going to be very important today for the real Daytona 500 because I do think we'll get more than the amount of people we're going to take. So I think you're going to have to qualify in again, and I'm going to have to lay down a good lap.
Especially with all of the chartered cars locked in. There's 35 of them, the full-time guys, and then of course it's all down to those final 5 spots for the part-time series drivers. So who knows who those could go for? I know there's probably I don't know off the top of my head. There's like 14, 15 guys racing part-time tonight that don't have a full-time charter. So it's gonna be intense. Like the drivers have to really try to make their way into this one tonight.
Yeah, definitely. Yesterday, what was it? 14 whole drivers did not make the race tonight, and there were some notable names: Rojan Koch, Zane Rahman, past winner. Some full-time guys in the series that didn't make the race, so shame for them. And like we saw last year, Ryan Davis, he won the truck race and then missed out in the race, and so it can happen to anybody, even past winners. So even some of the best in the league have to look out.
Yeah, of course, it was unfortunate for Rojan Cook. I think that was the second straight season opener that he qualified 36, which obviously is 1 spot behind being enough. So, of course, like Cole said earlier, we had 48, our league record, 48 cars attempt to qualify for the Grand National Series race. That was wild. I mean, we've never seen something like that. Obviously, 13 cars went home. I mean, that was insane. Like you said, a lot of big contenders. You had to put down a good qualifying lap to make it there. Cole, like you literally made the race by about like 10 seconds. I mean, just take me through the nerves of that. Being the defending
Oh,
series champion and like, yeah.
yeah, I didn't think I was gonna make the race, that's for sure. I mean, I was already worried going into qualifying because I had struggled in qualifying. And then I had some problems with my internet, so I got that fixed. Got in the session with like 2 minutes left in qualifying. I think I crossed the start finish line with a minute to go in qualifying, and a lap is 50 seconds in the Xfinity car. So I just had to calm myself down and then set the lap then at that point because I knew I was gonna have a chance to make it. But man, that was a stressful few like 10-ish minutes, but glad it all worked out. Didn't really matter in the end.
Yeah, unfortunate finish there. Let's talk about the Grand National race a little bit more. Obviously, 35 cars. They were 3 wide for the first about 15 laps. They were all doing really well. And then TJ Moon unfortunately misjudged it and then caused a massive crash, taking about, why, not 20 cars out of the race, but probably including like 20 cars in the entirety of the wreck. And that like set a lot of people down, took about 10 cars out of the entire race. There were like 10 others that were damaged, a lot of cars that went a lap down. And then it was completely green till about 5 to go when the lap car, Alexander Ortega, he actually spun out with Cole Wilson early in the race. They didn't get a caution. Ortega wasn't very happy about that call, but usually it's literally in the rule book. We don't call cautions if somebody's out of the way, and there's no reason to call yellow, and iRacing throws them anyways, and they decided not to then. So, of course, there was no caution for that. He got lapped, and then I don't know what was going on for this. Him and his teammate Jacob Malone put him down a little bit on the racetrack. Ortega came back up and then just turns him in front of the field. It collects Malone, of course. Then it also collected their other teammate Sean Rowe. So it was a terrible finish there for ETR. And I can tell you, Ortega, he's not really the favorite of the entirety of the ETR team right now. His teammates, they're not really too happy with him. Luckily for him, I guess, he's not going to be in the Daytona 500 tonight. So yeah, that was definitely interesting. And then of course at the finish, Axel Smith was blocking Matthew White all over the place down the back straightaway. Axel Smith ended up dominating the second half of this race, and in his first ever Grand National Series starts, he takes the win and wins in Daytona. It was a Fat and Friends United swept night as well because they won the truck race with TJ Moon. So I mean, your of course other podcast host Brody Webster usually here. Really, really good celebrations last night for all of those wins, and that was very, very entertaining to watch in Daytona. I just definitely do wish we had more cars there available at the end of the Grand National race, because I think 35 cars mixing it up late in the race would have been very, very special. I mean, we saw the same kind of thing last season, but last season they had a wreck with about halfway that took out a lot of cars. I wish they just kept it green, and I really wish we could have had over just about 35 cars battling for the win at the end there.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like you said, I mean, the first like 14, 15 laps, incredible three wide throughout the field, like 11, 12 rows deep. And it wasn't like just gridlock three wide. You could like actually get going somewhere. You could get up to the front. So it was very interesting, and it's a shame they couldn't have stayed a little bit longer like that, like you said, with like 10 cars being taken out of the wreck and so many cars getting damaged. I mean, the racing just was never really the same throughout the race, and we never really saw. I mean, the wreck we had with TJ Moon, that was definitely the big one. It was at least 15, or if not 20 cars involved. So we definitely did get a big one, but that was really only big wreck besides Ortega and Malone, which was only around 3 cars. So it was interesting, and then we had a big wreck coming to the checkered flag too. But it would have been interesting to see how it played out with all the cars, and I think it would have been interesting to see who came out on top.
Yeah, so of course, obviously that was last night. Like we said, the Cup Series driver now, Axel Smith, Cup Series rookie, won his first ever Grand National Series race, and that was really special for him, that whole organization. And then, of course, that just shows the big growth in the Grand National Series. Obviously, we had 41 drivers attempt to qualify for this race last season, 48 this season. I mean, it just keeps on growing. Like, next season, we're on track to be over 50, which would be absolutely insane.
Yes, for sure. It'll be interesting to see how many cars we do get attempt tonight with the new car Gen 4. I don't know how many people are. I think a lot of people are happy about the change from the next gen. A lot of people are not happy from the change to the next gen. Some people don't really care. So it'll be interesting to see. I think we'll still get a lot of cars. I don't know the exact amount we got last year. Did we
It
have any
was
cuts last year in the
No, it was 34,
500?
but we had 39 already combined just in the duels. So
So oh yeah, so if we judge off the duels, we'll have more than enough cars. So we'll the lead just continues to grow, and great to see it.
of course, 40 cars do make the Daytona 500 tonight, but like we said, all the full-time cars are locked in. That's something obviously the full-time Grand National guys didn't have. Now the top 12 in points do get that luxury for the rest of the season. It's just the first race is just pure chaos. Nobody's locked in. Same thing with the truck race, but of course with the Cup Series race, with there being charters, all the charter drivers that are full-time are all locked into the race. So all right, now I guess it's time to talk about a little bit more about the Daytona 500. So, of course, we're going to start off tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll go live for the pre-race show for an hour. We'll be going over all the highlights from all the Speed Weeks actions. We're going to have pre-race interviews, talk about the Daytona 500, all the details you need to know, and a lot more in that pre-race show over that hour. And then, of course, we go live at 9 p.m. Eastern Time once again For the race, the Daytona 500 green flag is scheduled to be around 9:30, 9:40. Yeah, I should say actually, for the green flag of the season number 5 NASCAR iRacing FedEx Cup Series Daytona 500. So it is such a big race coming up. It's the Great American Race, the biggest race I guess you can say in league history at this point. I mean, every single Daytona 500 usually becomes the biggest in league history just because the series keeps on growing, and it's definitely going to keep on growing tonight. We could have possible DNQs. I mean, with the iRacing update, I was talking to a good amount of drivers that didn't even make the duels, and we still even got 39 cars. So who knows what could happen tonight for these part-time drivers trying to race their way in.
Yeah, definitely a little nervous tonight about not making the race, but just gonna try and have a good qualifying and not do what I did in the duels again.
Yeah, so of course, 100 laps tonight, the Daytona 500. First ever Daytona 500 with this Gen 4 car, so we'll see how it goes. Obviously, going to be double the field size of both duels, so racing will be a little bit different. So we'll see if that all plays out. If it's a little bit more to the driver's liking because of that, just more cars involved and all that. Maybe not losing the draft as badly like we saw some cars do in the duels pretty easily. So we'll have to just see how that all goes tonight. Of course, it'll be the biggest race of the season. This is the Daytona 500 new points format, of course, for the chase. So this is the first time, actually, technically the second time because of the duels, but the first time to score a full points grid, I guess you can say. So, of course, now you get points for leading the most laps as well. Obviously, still the pole and 0x. You also get points. There is still a stage for the Cup Series, not for the Grand National Series or anything else. They have the halfway break at the end of lap 50. We should, if we don't have any cautions in the first half, see a green flag pit stop, maybe lap 31 to lap 33, the fuel window, somewhere around that. So it's going to be really, really interesting tonight. We hope to just see some good racing out there. Hopefully we keep it clean early on, and then they get mixing it up towards the end of the race, and hopefully we just have ultimately a very, very solid race all around for another great Daytona 500.
Yeah, for sure. A little worried about the package after the duels. I mean, we saw duel 2 especially. Just sat single file for a long time. But I think more cars, more eager drivers to get up front. I think we'll see more like duel 1, even greater. And I think we're definitely going to see some cars lose the draft and be in different packs. I think we'll see probably. My prediction is 3 different whole packs. If we get 35 cars, I think we'll have a front group of around the biggest of around 25, and then we'll have some smaller groups break off through the pack that lose the draft because it's so easy to do. So, gonna be interesting to see. You definitely want to be up front. Qualifying's so important. Don't want to lose the draft, that's for sure. Because it's very easy to.
So we're gonna go back in history a little bit here. So I know this season 3 500 was with the Gen 4, Gen 6. Oh my God, Gen 7 car. My God, and so was the season 4 500. Season 4 500 was pretty chaotic. Season 3 we had a completely green flag run all the way for the first half of the race. So we don't really know what to expect tonight. Same thing with the duels. That gave us literally no expectations because one duel was pure chaos. The second duel, not a single caution. So I don't really know what to expect, but we'll all go down for the Daytona 500 tonight, and we are so excited for the 5th running of the Great American Race. So, of course, I know a little bit of a shorter episode tonight, but that will do it for episode number 4 of the Saturday Sports Shift. Enjoy the Daytona 500 coming up tonight, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for pre-race, and it should be such a show tonight. All right, so, of course, Cole, good luck in tonight's Daytona 500. We hope to see you up front. Maybe you can go back-to-back as well. We'll see.
Thank you. We got a double duty tonight. We're racing at Bristol at 7 p.m. Then we got to fly back to Daytona very quickly in the helicopter. So hopefully we'll be there with some time left in practice.
Yeah, nice try, Cole Wilson. Anyways, that will do it here tonight for the episode of the Saturday Sports Shift. Brody Webster will be back next week, and we'll be covering, of course, the end of the Daytona 500. We're also going to cover the end of Richmond for next Saturday. So enjoy the Daytona 500 tonight. This has been the Saturday Sports Shift.